My name is Maeve Campbell. I'm a climate journalist based over all the way in London, so very far away. Woo, was that a woo? Yeah, woo, okay, great. Love London, great. I also love New York though. I could move here very easily, but I can't get a visa. So I'm very excited for our panel today. I'm just gonna go straight into introducing you both, even though Cherie's name was already said quite well, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it justice. But I'm really pleased to be here today to welcome Cherie Tirikatene, who is a strategic advisor and cultural facilitator from Aotearoa, or New Zealand, who has a deep commitment to Indigenous advancement, climate justice, and self-determination. She works at the intersection of kaupapa Māori strategy, government policy, and community-led development. Alongside Cherie, we have earth scientist Sapir Markus Alford, who is co-founder and CTO at Gigablue. Gigablue is one of the first companies worldwide to scale marine carbon dioxide removal technology. Basically, they use cutting-edge science to capture and store carbon in the depths of the ocean, and then ensure that it remains held there for centuries, rather than up in the atmosphere warming our planet. So, what is this technology? How does it work? And how does Cherie and Sapir know each other? I'm sure you're all thinking.
She loves me.
It's true.
I'm going to start with you, Sapir. Your company, Gigablue, has designed these particles, as far as I'm aware, and these particles, when deployed in the ocean, transport carbon safely to the bottom of the sea. It's often been described as an elevator for carbon, exporting the carbon from the top to the bottom of the ocean. That's how I'm getting my head around it. Tell us, what are these special particles and how do they work?
So first of all, I'll say that it's not that special. This is what Earth does for the last 3.5 billion years, and we're just mimicking it. And this is one of our or the main ideology was working with global and scalable systems that already exist, because the problem is such an urgent effort that we all need to do. So if it's just working with nature, with the existing processes, so for example, this fixates already between 50 to 60 gigatons a year. That's more than what we emit, but only 1% is sinking. But what we are doing is mimicking it and doing it just in a very controllable and contained manner. So we're actually exporting all of it to the deep ocean to safely store it there for centuries of thousands of years.
And are you allowed to tell us what the particles are made of? Or is that kind of patented?
Yeah, it is patented. There are different versions, so it's not a specific material. It's more of a concept that we're using throughout different materials. It really can also be changed in regarding depending on the geography that we're operating in, to reduce also LCA on the way to remove carbon. So what we use in New Zealand can be different from what we will use, for example, in Japan.
And so, Cherie, tell me how you know Sapir.
She loves me. I also run a carbon forestry company on the Chatham Islands. So I live on the Chatham Islands, and that was missing off that map, just like to say to everybody, but it was because we're so small. That's why it wasn't there. And so this picture here actually is taken with us in the Chatham Islands. So Gigablue has made an effort to engage with all Indigenous peoples that will be not affected, but would have something to say about them being in our waters in the EEZ in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And so Sapir and I have travelled up and down Te Waiponamu, the South Island of New Zealand, and they've come over to the Chatham Islands as well, because the Chatham Rise is near, obviously, the EEZ. And we've engaged with Indigenous peoples and asked their opinions, and actually asked them how do they want to be involved in our journey. So we haven't gone to them and told them this is what we want to do and you need to help us do it. We've actually gone to, so I'm Ngāi Tahu, so Ngāi Tahu is one of the major iwis in Te Waiponamu in the South Island, And we've sat in multiple meetings and said, how would you like us to engage with you? It's a process we call tikanga, and tikanga is kind of like a rules of engagement, how you would actually engage with Indigenous peoples. And so that's why she loves me, because we've been travelling so much together, and otherwise I wouldn't have travelled 23 hours to get here. But it's such a game changer for the globe. Like, this is a global issue that we, I'm speaking to the choir here. Everyone in this room knows and understands, and so I feel privileged to be attached to something that's going to change that dial.
Thank you. And Sapir, why did you choose New Zealand then as one of the first countries to test your technology?
So we had 7 potential geographies, and we specifically chose New Zealand because of its rigorous environmental approach. We said, once we go into New Zealand and we get permits to operate within the New Zealand waters, just going to be probably easier in every other place, and we wanted to prove ourselves that we are compliant with all the requirements, the environmental requirements, and I think it shows really good results. Everyone that we talk to have the same feeling for New Zealand, and we see it every day when we work there.
And obviously New Zealand is so famous for its stunning nature and oceans. And I know you mentioned, Cherie, that where you live on the Chatham Islands, I looked it up, it's about 800 kilometres east of New Zealand's South Island, so quite remote. How have you seen this introduction of working with Gigablue? Has it affected kind of your landscape yet? Have you seen a change, or what do you hope to see?
Yeah, for me, it's around the community. So what I believe we will see is that the more we grow, the more impact we'll have, and not just with our Indigenous peoples, but also with small communities like the Chatham Islands. There are 650 people. There's more people staying in my hotel at the moment than there is on my island. And so, so it's quite different, but it's the impact that we'll be able to see. Like we have goals as an island as well, to scale up, to have more people come back home, but there isn't resource at the moment available for that, and the more we grow as Gigablue, the more I can see those things happening.
And you know, for you, Sapir, as because you're a carbon project developer, I would call you, you know, why did you decide that the local community engagement was so important and should be at the heart of your approach?
I think as a company culture, we tend to deeply engage with everyone that is around us, I guess, or with interaction with. And once we stepped in, like we, you know, decided that we're going into New Zealand to start working there, we first kind of studied who are there, what are the groups that, you know, can care basically about what we do, more than like not only be affected by, but can care and can basically join us for the wonderful journey. And iwi is one of the major groups in New Zealand, basically, that that we for sure wanted to suggest them to join us for this journey.
And just going back to the tech, I'm so curious. I don't know if anyone else understands it. I don't fully understand it yet, but maybe that's just me. But it's the particles. They sound amazing. They're natural. So we're not putting anything in the ocean that isn't natural. How does it actually work? How do you deploy particles into the ocean that transport carbon from the top to the bottom?
Yeah, so actually you can see in the picture, this is one of our trials, but we go with a vessel. This is a NIWA vessel. NIWA is the National Institute for Water and Atmosphere. Their scientific team is doing also the MRV, which is the measurement of everything and quantification of the carbon, etc. But it is that straightforward. It's like this size of a particle, like Sinimini, okay? And we basically use a pumping system to put it into the ocean. There's a lot of science modeling experts around how specifically to put it and what pattern and currents like modeling. And so there's a lot of tech in the background and like like expert of modeling to really design every specific deployment. But basically it's a pumping system, put it into the water over a transect. Then the particle itself has two components. One is responsible for being a superhost for the local phytoplankton. So once they find it, they just grow inside. It's like a very tasty buffet for them, basically. So they grow and multiply inside over 2 to 3 weeks. And the second component is a controlled floating and sinking mechanism. So we pre-design it to basically release air after 18 days, and then it sinks together with the captured carbon to the bottom of the ocean very rapidly. So,
and how do you make sure, using, I'm sure, a lot of scientists and backed evidence that what you're doing is making sure it's protecting the marine ecosystem?
Sure. Maybe here I'll stop and I go a bit backwards, but I started this journey of Gigablue because I wanted to do something that will heal the ocean. And after I studied and actually I was diving in a few different places and wanted to actually see it in my own eyes, the climate change underwater, I realized this, like taking the carbon right from the ocean surface would benefit it the most. Because this not only will reduce temperatures eventually when we'll scale enough, all of us, whoever does carbon removal, but will also have more benefits to the water themselves regionally. So we're talking about, for example, fighting the acidity that is growing in the water, like Michelle mentioned. And we have, of course, all the data to support it.
So originally a very personal approach for you.
Yes.
From the diving, and then became more of a business and more of a science-backed mission.
And specifically on the business, I think, and I really agree with Roman, yeah, thank you. I don't know if he's here, but basically in order to have everyone on deck, right, working towards that, it has to be economically viable. Like this is what runs the world, and we have to do something that will be relevant business-wise for that.
Absolutely. And Cherie, I'll just come back to you. I when we were talking before, you gave such a heartfelt explanation about your own relationship with nature. I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit about that and why it means so much to you where you live.
Yeah, well, so it's the ocean that connects us, right? So for me, especially on the Chatham Islands, the island is full of gorse. Like it's actually not good for the island. And on the island, it's farming and fishing that are the key income earners. And so being able to, I feel very privileged, I get to do both. I get to repair whenua and help the ocean. And so I just want to say as well, while you were talking, Sapir, I didn't mention this, I was at the deployment, one of the deployments that we were testing, and it's not just iwi and Indigenous communities that will benefit from this. Like we're employing companies in Nelson that are making these pumping parts and doing these things. So it's actually like it's
the whole economy.
Absolutely, it is. And so, yeah, I just feel very privileged. And with Māori, that we as iwi, these are the things that we care about the most.
Yeah.
And so to be able to do that for a job and meet beautiful people and travel around the world. I know I complained, but I wasn't really. It's awesome. Like it's, who wants to do that? Me.
And what made you accept Sapir? Because I remember you telling me that You know, it was a very when I say accept, I mean into your community, because someone from outside coming in, obviously with great intentions, but I know you had a very heartfelt approach to that.
Yeah, I did, and I've had businesses, I've done a lot of things, I talk to investors all the time. If it doesn't line up, if it, you know, you have your gut, you know what you know, and also I represent a whakapapa, so Tirikatene is my whakapapa, and I'm very proud of that. And so wherever I go, that's who I am carrying with me. So if I don't do the right thing, it's my ancestry that gets it. This is legacy. And what Gigablue are doing and the relationship that I have with Sapir and the trust we built in such a short time, that's legacy.
Thank you very much. I think we'll end there. Thank you so much. Please give them a big round of applause.